Welcome to the February 7th, 2024 meeting of the Daytona Beach City Commission. We're delighted to have each of you with us. At this time, we are going to ask Madam Clerk for a roll call.
Commissioner Paris?
Here.
Commissioner Strickland?
Here.
Commissioner May?
Here.
Commissioner Cantu?
Here.
Commissioner Henry?
Here.
Commissioner Reed?
Here.
Mayor Derek L. Henry.
Here, we'll now have the invocation led by Commissioner Reed, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance led by Commissioner Paris. Please rise for the invocation and pledge.
I will bless the Lord at all times. His praises shall continually be in my mouth. O taste and see that the Lord is good. Lord, once again, we come before your throne and we thank you for all that you've done, all that you're doing, and all that you shall do, because you're a good God. You're a mighty God. And Lord, we thank you for a city called Daytona Beach, Florida. We thank you for an opportunity to serve. We thank you, Lord, for every citizen that resides here and every person that comes to visit. We pray that we will be a shining example of what a city should be, and they'd want to come back. Now, Lord, bless us this evening as we prepare to discuss the business of this city. Lead us and guide us, O great God. Help us to make decisions that are best for all and consider all. And we'll be careful to give you all the honor, all the glory, and all the praise. In the mighty and matchless name of Jesus, I pray. Let us all say, Amen. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll now move on to item number 4, which is approval of the minutes of the January 3rd, 2024 City Commission meeting.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Commissioner Reed, I believe Commissioner May. All those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0. This time we'll have our commission agenda. If there are any changes, our city manager will address them.
Yes, Honorable Mayor, Commissioners, there are 2 changes. Item 8E, City Manager's Office Beachside Redevelopment Board appointments to be continued to February 24th, 2024 City Commission meeting at 6 p.m. Add item 8AB, Finance Department Bike Week Sponsorship Funds Resolution authorizing the following expenditure of Bike Week funds: $2,000 to the Military Order of Purple Hearts, Chapter 316, to go towards the purchase of a monument to be placed at the Veterans Museum from the Bike Week funds of Commissioner Stacy Cantu. Those conclude our changes.
I move to accept the agenda with the said changes.
Second.
We have a motion from Commissioner Reed and a second from Commissioner May. Do we have any questions or comments? All right, all those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those who are opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0.
Okay, we're now going to move on to item number 6, which is our presentations. And tonight we have a presentation by the Honorary Consul of Hungary in Central Florida.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor Henry and esteemed council members. I'm truly honored to be here, and I'm really happy to having me tonight, and I have a chance to introduce our Hungarian community here and our goals and plans for the future. I'm Piros Pazaurek. I'm Honorary Consul of Hungary here in Daytona Beach and representing the Central Florida Hungarians. I have been here for almost 13 years in United States, 10 years in Florida. I have my husband and I have my son. We are living in Port Orange. We are very proud U.S. citizens for almost 6 years now. I would like to introduce a few items for you and the residents of Daytona Beach. And hopefully we will impress you about what we have as a Hungarian minority and Hungarian community in Florida. We have almost 110,000 Hungarians alone here in Florida, Hungarians of Hungarian descent. As you can see, one of the most important hubs for Hungarians here in the Daytona Beach area, and we have many clubs, churches, festivals, and other museums and schools in this region. If you can see, it's mainly in Daytona Beach and Ormond Beach and Port Orange as well. And I would like to emphasize that and highlighting that one of a few of our organizations like American Hungarian Club since 1962, more than 60 years old community. Also the Hungarian Heritage Home, which is located at the Casement. It's more than 14 years there. Also, we have festivals and large events such as a Hungarian Summit is gonna come up in May. I'm going to talk about that a little bit later. We have a school here and a community church for almost 20 years. We had an opportunity to meet there with Commissioner May in the past. Also, I would like to highlight a few businesses like a Mama Fufu, a Revive Fitness Club, and United Water Restoration and Go to Escape just around this area. We are very proud of them, and they are giving back a community a lot. Just a sneak peek what we have here, very bright and colorful community life. We are very proud of that. The last 5 years we had an opportunity to having 2 ambassadors of Hungary to the United States here visited us, and many other diplomatic delegations as well. The Hungarians giving back is very important. That part, we try to giving back to the American community. We are not just living here separately. We are very involved in the American community as well. Law-abiding taxpayers, we got and getting many grants from the Hungarian government, and all of the money is spending here. Cultural and heritage benefit is very influential. As I mentioned, the museum, festivals, food culture as well, and increasing economic interest here in this area. Just I would like to mention the Be Strong, one of the Hungarian major fitness company is invested here. They bought a new land here, and they are developing a manufacturing facility very soon, or donated a tech-ball table to the Daytona State College. Or I would like to mention our friend Ridgewood, who is one of the most famous celebrity in Hungary. He has almost 100,000 followers on Facebook, and all the time is checking in from Daytona Beach, so make many and wonderful exposure. And also his wife is one of the major coach of the DMA Academy, and we are proud of that fact too. So Hungarian Summit was took place last year and last day before. It's going to be the 4th event this year. And 2022 we had here in Atomoaz, and as you can see, we had a great exposure. More than 150 companies and businesses and higher education institutions visited to Daytona Beach. Very high-level distinguished guests, just a speaker of the deputy speaker of the House, or ambassador of Hungary was the patron of that event, and we were very proud of that. American community was very involved as well as Daytona Beach as well. We have many results already. We are trying to basically be building bridges between the two countries, such as in education and business and sport and culture and the community. And as I mentioned, many businesses interested in coming to investing here in this area. We have diplomatic developments and attention and culture and cooperation. We have been working on the Sister City program. And as I mentioned, the media exposure is huge now. Just one video usually is viewed by 50 and 100,000 people on YouTube. And we try to make an impact in the Rotary Club, international relationships, sport and scholarships, and tourism as well. I would like to introduce a short video of what we had last year. Last year, we had an opportunity to bring this event to Budapest, to Hungary, and we had a delegation there where we were honored. Mayor Henry was visited us and joined us to that program. And you can see the sneak peek what we had there, and very influential persons from the area, just like Jordan Gilotti from NASCAR as GM of the NASCAR, or Tim Volusia, President Keith Norton visited us, and seven universities from 6 states, including UCF and Stetson University, were representing themselves. now I would like to take an opportunity to handing over and present the gift of Hungary. And one of that, it was given by Deputy Speaker of the Hungarian Parliament, Hungarian House. And I would like to hand it over to you first, and you were the delivery persons as well. So thank you so much again for coming. You were kind of a superstar in Hungary and our distinguished guest, and we are very proud of that, and you were accepting our invitation. Thank you so much. And also I would like to present the major gift, which is coming from Hungarian government. I'm sorry, I was not able to represent.
This is sort of a big deal.
This is a beautiful sculpture which is made by artist Lodi, and this sculpture is standing there in downtown of Budapest, and the capital of Hungary. And this is the dream. One time it's gonna come alive and then full size. This sculpture is representing exactly what the Daytona Beach has: motorsport industry and family-oriented community. And it is gonna be a perfect addition to this area, and hopefully it's gonna come along very soon. Thank you so much, Mayor Harry, and thank you all of your support, and we can be part of this wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, one more.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And as we are closing the past, I'm going to focus on a little bit in the future. So very proud of to announce that May 23rd and 24th is going to be the new Hungarian Summit here in Daytona Beach. And we are very happy and glad Daytona State College and Mr. President Labosso was offered that opportunity to have the event there, the Daytona State College building, which is a great deal, I believe, and it's gonna be a perfect addition to the program. It's gonna be almost a 5 days program. We added a delegation trip as a business trip and a higher education trip. We're gonna have three different counties involved in the business trip and the higher education trip. They are very supportive as well. And of course, the major event, the main big day event is going to be in Daytona Beach, where this very high-level distinguished guest already accepted our invitation. We focus on the education, higher education. I would like to highlight that already we made a few cooperation with other universities here in to Hungary, and back and forth, the exchange programs and the engineering programs, for instance, with UCF. So it's many coming along, and businesses and community and culture and sport. The speakers, like a Deputy Speaker of the House is gonna come. David Consul is a former U.S. ambassador to Hungary. And TJ Villami, I believe everybody knows him, the Deputy Secretary of the Commerce. And CAMILLE is one of the most famous water polo Olympian, and one of the major executive of Disney, which is Hungarian originally. And in closing, I would like to show another very short video, which is all about the Sister City program. We had an opportunity to go to visit Győr, which is one of the most, it was called the most innovative city in Hungary. They have universities, many similarity what we have here, and a very open-minded and wonderful mayor as well. So they are willing to helping us. Just please visit watch this video.
Cordially welcome on behalf of Széchenyi István University. And before we do start our with our presentation, I would like to thank very deeply to Honorary Consul, Ms. Piros Pazaurek, for organizing today's event.
Dear guests, ladies and gentlemen, I warmly welcome you to Győr, the city that was chosen the most innovative one in Hungary.
Sisters in the year, and hopefully you're gonna come to this wonderful MOU signage, and we are working on it. And thank you again. If you have any ideas or support or higher education and/or business connection who would be interested in this very nice collaboration, please let me know. We will be happy. And hopefully you will thinking of Hungary in different way now, and you will think about Hungarian people as a giving back to the community type of people. Thank you so much. Appreciate it, and have a wonderful evening.
Thank you. Oh, no. Okay. Piros, thank you for sharing the video and your presentation tonight. Also, the gift, we will have to find a prominent place in the city that I suppose we'll have to have some sort of description to go with it, because it's quite a symbol from the Hungarian people of significance, and it's greatly appreciated. The reception that we received as a delegation from America and as a representative of Daytona Beach was humbling, to put it mildly. And I learned a great deal about the significance of relationship and how important international travel and international relationships are to our colleges and universities. This was a major part of the trip that I was going just thinking that you're trying to maybe recruit new businesses. But it's, you know, having gone to a college where we had a lot of international students, and many of whom are still friends 30 years later, I understand in hindsight how important those relationships are and how important having those people on my college campus was to me. So the trip just can't be overstated. Your work is phenomenal. The connections that you're making, you're just a valuable asset to Volusia County, to Florida in the United States. And so I want to, on behalf of the commission and the city of Daytona Beach, express our gratitude for all that you've done and continue to do, and we look forward to a great summit this year.
Okay. So now we're going to move on to item number 7, which is our citizen comments. And during this time, citizens have the opportunity to address the city commission on any item on consent agenda. Let's see. Our first speaker tonight is Marjorie Johnson, and on deck is John Nicholson.
Marjorie Johnson, Daytona Beach. I'm here tonight to speak about the different appointments to the different boards. We have a beautification tree advisory board appointment, nuisance abatement board, 3 appointments, city manager Peabody Auditorium advisory board, and city manager office police and our pension fund board. I'm here to speak because I see some discrimination going on as far as appointments to these boards. I know several residents contacted me, former president of the Volusia County NAACP, and said that they had never ever and had applied for these boards and had never ever been appointed. I do know for a fact that one board discrimination occurred in Zone 6. They appointed a woman from Port Orange to that board. That was done by Commissioner Paula Reed Carolyn, a friend of mine. And I knew she lived in Port Orange because I have been familiar with her. And I spoke out at this podium that we should not be appointing people. That's incompetence at its worst. To appoint people from Port Orange, and because you don't like someone, get here and pray, put your, and talk about people being together. And you should not show your nastiness because you don't like people.
Can you just address the issue?
I am addressing it.
Make sure you address the issue.
That's part of the problem. I know what
you're going to address the issues, I'm going to stop you.
Well, the problem is we need to have fairness. We have an election coming up, and these people need to be voted out of office if they're not doing their job properly. You was appointed to represent all of the people, and this is why I never say the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag, because there is no justice for all. We need to make sure that our residents that are applying for these boards, all of them are getting the same. We didn't have this under Glenn Ritchie. We didn't have it under Scarlett Olsen. We didn't have this kind of behavior under our other past mayors and commissioners. So we want it corrected. I'm getting a lot of calls about it, and people are saying, oh, they're discriminating against us. We can't get on a city board. I said, well, okay, it'll be corrected soon. There's a new election. Vote them out. Thank you.
Go sit down.
Okay. Our next speaker is John Nicholson, and on deck is Frederick Brown.
John Nicholson, 413 North Grandview Avenue. I've got questions on about 9 items, but I can get those from David if I ever find them. The one I'm curious about is A, business enterprise management. There are 4 of them, right, A, B, C, and D. I've never heard of that. Is that a new department or just a renamed department? Under U, the replacement weir and LPGA, $233,000. Weirs are usually just a hole in the ground. That's a great deal of money to put a hole in the ground. And under X, emergency expenditure at the water plant, I thought Pam Woods had a system installed where we regularly look at all of our equipment to make sure that we don't have emergency. Because generally, if you're doing something under an emergency time frame, it costs more. So if we look at it over a time period and say, well, this will last another week, another 6 months, another year, we can plan on having it replaced and get the best deal. So I'm wondering whether that's still in place or we need to look at it again. Thank you.
And our next speaker is Frederick Brown.
Frederick Brown, 1508 Crescent Ridge, Daytona Beach. Once again, I rise to talk to you about missed opportunities that we're seeing in the consent agenda. For those of you who are paying attention to that presentation by our friends from Hungary, if you were looking at the video, you notice that they were talking, they had pictures of the electric vehicle. Daytona, which has considerably more sun than they have in Eastern Europe, has a great opportunity to be using solar and electric vehicles. We have chosen so far to not pursue that at all. That is a shame. Once again, I see we're getting vehicles for the fire department needed. No thought was given to getting EVs. That is a sad situation. They're far more reliable, far more less costly to maintain, and the city is not moving forward in that direction. It's sad, we just keep doing the same thing over and over again. And because we're a beachside community, it obviously affects us more than it does some people in higher elevations inland. On item 8V, again, we're missing an opportunity for solar. I don't know how many bids were put in. I'm familiar with the company. It's a very good company, but it's a diesel generator. With that much money spent, over $49,000, could have gone a long ways towards solar, which would give us reliable power for free, and it's much more easily maintained. Not to mention, of course, the pollution aspects of it. Lastly, item AZ. Now, I'd ask for raise of hands, but I won't get it. How many commissioners have actually been to Butts Pond, to the most critical pump in all of Midtown and Newtown area? It badly needs, and I've talked about this numerous times, both before the events, recent flood events, and after. The Army Corps of Engineers pointed out the problems 12 years ago. Nothing was done. We're now correcting mistakes that were made to the tune of almost $45,000. I sometimes wonder about the staff, which you all rely on, since none of you actually go out there and review these sites yourselves. You do rely on staff, and I understand that. They're highly paid, so I would think they would do a quality job. But had this job been done correctly back in the first place, we wouldn't be spending $45,000 to raise the panels. What about the other panels around the pond? There's no mention of them. They were all flooded as well. And again, I've mentioned the sluice gate. There's no mention of repairing that whatsoever. That's, the motor's been missing for that for years. Again, we need to be smarter with what we're doing with our money. Thank you.
That was my final speaker for the consent agenda.
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Take a motion from Commissioner Reed and a second from Commissioner Cantu. Do we have any questions or comments? All right, all those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those who are opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Did I hear? Let me do that again. Those are in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Okay, motion carries 7-0.
Okay, we're going to move on to item number 9, which is our public hearings and quasi-judicial hearings. Item 9A is the City Clerk's Office amending Ordinance 96-403, the Charter Review Commission procedures. This is an ordinance on second reading, public hearing, An ordinance amending ordinance number 96403 relating to the Charter Review Commission to revise appointment, meeting, notice, and reporting requirements, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, and providing an effective date.
So move.
Second.
Have a motion from Commissioner Cantu, and we have a second from Commissioner May.
I do have one speaker, Mr. Mayor. It's Mr. John Nicholson.
John Nicholson, 413 North Grandview Avenue. The last time we did a charter review, City Commission, after the board met several times and for several hours, dismissed everything. Told them, thank you, but no thank you, and denied everything. So I'm asking you,
Even true.
there's several things that are extremely important, I think should go on it, that are, the state has changed rules, and we should accommodate those rules on our commission. So does the public have a right at these meetings to speak out? They were not in the past. Can we speak at the charter review when they have their meetings? Because I think
John, those are public meetings. They were public meetings last time, and
Yes.
and people spoke on it. So yes, there will be public meetings that people can speak on.
okay, they won't be interrupted and they won't be chosen people, correct?
It'll be sign up to speak just like it is here, just like it was last time.
Well, you'd be surprised what happened last time.
I was there. I remember what happened
You
last
did
time.
too. Thank you very much.
Okay. And that was my only speaker for that item, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Do we have a
Yeah, we had a motion and a
motion? Who
second.
was the motion? I forgot.
Cantu and May.
Cantu and May? Okay. We have a motion, we have a second. All those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0.
Okay. Moving on to item 9B. It is the Growth Management and Planning Department First Amendment to Caris Cold Storage Proportionate Fair Share Agreement. This is a resolution public hearing. A resolution approving the First Amendment to the Caris Cold Storage Proportionate Share Agreement between the city, KCS Icebox DAB1 LLC, the developer, and the County of Volusia to modify the proportionate share amount resulting from an increase in the maximum build-out by an additional 31,327 square feet of warehouse space, authorizing the mayor and the city clerk to execute the First Amendment and providing an effective date.
So move.
We have a motion from Commissioner Cantu and a second from Commissioner Strickland.
And I do have Jessica Gal here on behalf of the applicant for any questions.
All right. No questions? All right, all those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0.
Okay, we're going to move on to item 9C. It's Growth Management Planning Department, Cell Tower Number 2, east of Municipal Stadium. This is a resolution public hearing. A resolution approving a public use permit to allow for use of approximately 1.3 acres of vacant city-owned land located adjacent to and east of Municipal Stadium at 3917 LPGA Boulevard for a monopole tower, subject to conditions, and providing an effective date.
So move.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Commissioner Cantu and Reed, do we have any questions or comments?
And I have no speakers, Mr. Mayor.
All right, all those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those who are opposed, same sign. This motion carries 7-0.
Okay, moving on to item 9D, it's a Growth Management and Planning Lift Station 34. This is a resolution public hearing. A resolution approving a public use permit to allow phased demolition and replacement of the city's existing Lift Station 34 to include new mechanical, electrical, and instrumentation and control equipment, and construction of a new 720 square foot office electrical building located at 510 Ora Street and associated site improvements, and providing an effective date.
So move.
Second.
All right, we'll take a motion from Commissioner Cantu and a second from Commissioner Reed. No questions or comments or speakers?
No speakers.
All right, all those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those who are opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0.
Okay, we're going to move on to item number 10, which is our introduction of ordinances. Item number 10A is the Finance Department, Police Vehicles and GPS Equipment for Golf Carts Capital Financing. This is an introduction of an ordinance on first reading. An ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Daytona Beach, Florida, authorizing the execution and delivery of a master equipment lease purchase agreement with TD Equipment Finance, Inc., and Schedule Number 1 thereto, authorizing the lease purchase financing of the acquisition and installation of vehicles and certain equipment herein described, authorizing the execution of such other documents as may be necessary to complete the transactions completed hereby, and providing an effective date. And are there any questions or comments from the commission on this item?
No.
Okay. The public hearing and final action will be February 21st. Item 10B is the Growth Management Planning Department, Entrada PD rezoning. This is an introduction of an ordinance on first reading. An ordinance amending the zoning map of the Land Development Code to rezone 120.9 plus or minus acres of property generally located in the northeast corner of the intersection of LBJ Boulevard and International Speedway Boulevard from SFR 5 Single Family Residential 5 to PDG Plan Development General, approving the Entrada Plan District Agreement allowing for a mixed-use development, including residential, commercial, and institutional uses, subject to certain conditions, authorizing the mayor and the city clerk to execute the agreement, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, and providing an effective date. And are there any questions or comments from the commission on this item?
I have some questions.
Okay, and I do have Jessica Gow here on behalf of the applicant for questions.
Currently, this is zoned for single-family residential. I don't know how everyone else feels, but I would like to keep it single-family residential. The questions that I did have was, just one second. The uses. Since there are so many uses, does the developer already know what they want to have there?
I hope this is better. On the first note, it is single-family residential zoning. When the LPGA DRI was established, this area the corner was commercial, then there was transitional, and then there was residential in the rear. And that DRI master plan is actually attached to our traffic study that was submitted. When that DRI was removed, when DRIs went out of fashion, the entire LPGA corridor converted to single-family residential 5. But the land use on this site, which is outlined in the staff report, is still mixed use, level 2 and then level 1 to get that commercial use on the corner, transitional, and then lower density in the rear, which is what we're following in the development plan. And so it is currently single-family. I think the master plan for decades and decades has been this mix that we're providing, and it's just that when the DRI expired, the entire corridor transitioned to single-family. On uses, we do not have the current layout now. The owner is interested in having a grocer-anchored shopping center. There's a rendering that's in the packet. I'm trying to see what page it is that shows kind of the commercial node in the front, some townhome or multifamily uses in that level 2 that the land use provides for, and then lower density in the rear to show that transition. So it would be your typical grocery-anchored shopping center.
Okay, and then also for the minimum required parking, they want to reduce it from two parking spaces per dwelling unit. Do you know why?
To the 1.5, only for standard multifamily, so not for townhomes or cottage style, because I think we've seen with staff that those uses really do park 2 cars per unit. The 1.5 is to kind of build in that internal capture from having those commercial uses there on the corner. Most multifamily developments these days park at around 1.5 if they're asked, so the standards are a little different. You do have criteria in your code that allows for reductions of that in terms of if you're close to transit opportunities, so VoTran stop, if that's within 1,000 square feet, you can get a 10% reduction, I think. You can get another 10% reduction for mixed-use development, and then you can get another reduction for having bicycle racks and things like that that promote that transit accommodation. Instead of applying for those at the site plan level, which would be an administrative review, we're just doing it up front to say this is the ratio that we would like to request.
And the
If
other
I can,
thing-
Mayor and City Commissioners, I think it's okay to get a little bit of information in terms of background about this application on first reading. But just as a reminder, these ordinances, the review and adoption of these ordinances are quasi-judicial matters, which means there needs to be a public hearing on second reading. The commission needs to make its decision whether to approve or reject this at the public hearing based on the evidence presented at that public hearing. And so if these considerations are important to you, I would encourage you to ask those questions and get that information again at the public hearing on second reading. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Okay. And then also tandem parking. Do you know why they're doing tandem parking and not side by side?
Yeah, so we've run into this a lot, and so we've been asking for this modification a lot, and I think we'll probably see a land development code text amendment at some point. The tandem parking is restricted to only those units that share, or only those spaces that are shared between one unit. And so when you have cottage style or even townhomes, you have a garage and then the driveway, just like a single family home, and the code doesn't contemplate counting that as two spaces. Because they're multifamily development, and so they'd have to be side by side. And so to build in that allowance, we pull in that modification.
Okay, and the other thing was the development phasing plan. Do you know why they need 5 years to get a permit? Why so long?
That is just the typical timeline we've put into these mixed use standards. This property started under contract with a developer. Halfway through the process, you'll see, that shift. It was elevation development, and now it's under thoroughfare classics. Elevation phased back from this plan, and so the application is being finished by the owner who has some development interest but doesn't have it under contract like they did at the beginning.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, did you write down all of your questions?
I did.
All right. So it seems as though that's one thing I don't like about the way we do things. We should be encouraged to ask questions during the first read. But it's discouraging because you want to feel as though you're making sure that the hearing is done properly.
Yeah, and just to be clear, Mayor, I don't want to discourage you from asking questions on first reading, but if it's information that you would make your decision on, make sure to ask those questions again in the public hearing, get it into the evidence of record.
Yeah, but what happens if she forgets one of those questions and it gets denied or something?
Well, I mean,
will they be able to basically, okay. Okay.
Yeah, within our summarization of our minutes, Letitia would say these points will be a part of that discussion.
Okay. That's a good idea, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. All right, we have a motion and a second?
No, we're not voting on this one.
We used to have
So
that.
if there were no other questions or comments from the commission, the public hearing and final action is February 21st. Moving on to 10C, which is the Growth Management Planning Department, ISB, and Williamson Southeast Plan Development General. This is an introduction of an ordinance on first reading. An ordinance amending the zoning map of the Land Development Code to rezone 2.1 plus or minus acres of property located at 2375 West International Speedway Boulevard from PDG Plan Development General to PDG Plan Development General, approving the ISB and Williamson Southeast Redevelopment Plan District Agreement to allow for the establishment of additional commercial uses within the existing structure on the property and to allow future redevelopment of the property, subject to certain conditions, authorizing the mayor and the city clerk to execute the agreement, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, and providing an effective date. And are there questions or comments from the commission on this item? Okay, the public hearing and final action will be February 21st. Okay. Moving on to item number 11, which is our administrative items. Item 11A is the city clerk's office and the Charter Review Commission appointments. So I'm going to go ahead and read the resolution into the record. Is a resolution appointing members and alternate members to the Charter Review Commission in accordance with Section 48 City Charter and providing an effective date. I don't have any speakers that have signed up for this item. So at this point, I'm going to go around. I'm going to start with Zone 1 and go around in order for your appointment and your alternate. And then at the end, I'll ask that we have a motion to appoint all the nominees and to adopt the resolution. So I'm going to start with, and the mayor, he's the final vote.
Ann Ruby and Sandy Murphy.
And that's, Ann Ruby is the appointment, and Sandy Murphy is the alternate.
That is correct.
Okay. Commissioner Strickland?
Paul Zimmerman and John Kenyon.
Okay. Commissioner May?
Christopher Bowler and Jack White.
Okay. Commissioner Cantu?
Harry Lloyd and alternate William Kammer.
Okay. Commissioner Henry?
Phyllis Terry Malia, alternate Tatiana Brown.
Okay. Commissioner Reed?
Ida Wright and alternate Russell Witherington.
And then Mayor Henry?
Well, someone took my people. Well, more than one person. But at any rate, okay, was Jack White appointed?
Yes.
I didn't check that. And he was an alternate? And who was, what about Steve Miller?
Steve Miller was not appointed.
And Chris Bowler is the appointee.
So the appointee is
He's
Chris
appointee.
Bowler, and Jack White was the alternate for Zone 3.
Oh, okay. Well, my appointee is Sandra Murphy. My alternate, she's an alternate. So she can't be my appointee? Yeah.
Somebody would have to give up another alternate.
Yeah, I'm gonna appoint her.
Okay.
You wanna be appointed, right? Oh, well then you're gonna be an alternate.
Okay.
I'm not gonna, okay. Well then Jack White will be my appointee. He was an appointee too?
He's been, yeah.
Appointed as
He's an alternate.
And he asked to be an alternate as well.
Well, see, my person that I asked has been appointed.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, he's been nominated, right?
He's
Nominated,
Right.
Nominated and likely to be appointed. Okay, or she. Okay. So he,
And you have to choose from these lists?
Unless you have an alternate
well, I
person.
know who
that
I
you can-
want. I don't need you to tell me from the audience. Okay, Steve Miller will be my appointee.
Okay.
And then I have to pick an alternate. Holly Beckwith.
If he has somebody,
Who? Make sure they
if you
qualify.
have a name that hasn't.
Oh, no. I'm gonna pick someone from here. No. Was Mr. Wait a minute. Was Mr. Brown an alternate, or was he chosen?
No.
I didn't have his name checked.
He can be your alternate.
He will be my alternate.
Okay.
Yes, Frederick Brown.
Okay. And then if I can have a motion to appoint the
The slate,
nominees
yeah.
and to adopt the
Do
resolution.
we need to restate who they are?
I can restate who they are.
Yes.
So for Zone 1, the appointment is Ann Ruby, and the alternate is Sandy Murphy. Zone 2, the appointment is Paul Zimmerman, and the alternate is John Kenyon. Zone 3, the appointment is Christopher Bowler, and the alternate is Jack White. For Zone 4, the appointment is Harry Lloyd, and the alternate is William Kamer. Zone 5, the appointment is Phyllis Terry Malia, and Tatiana Brown is the alternate. For Zone 6, it's Ida Wright as the appointment, and Russell Witherington as the alternate. And for the mayor is Steve Miller as the appointment, and the alternate is Frederick Brown.
Now, can the alternate talk to people on is that a violation of the sunshine when they talk to one another?
They'd have to do it.
Yeah, they should abide by the sunshine law.
And we will go over that when we have our first.
So is that why, are you still okay? Well, it doesn't matter now, it's too late. Okay, I thought maybe that was why you didn't want to be on there. Okay.
So I make
Do
a
you have a motion in a second?
I'll make a motion to approve the Charter Review Commission appointments.
All right, got a motion, Commissioner Cantu, second, Commissioner Strickland. All right, all those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0.
Okay, and for the record, my office will be contacting the appointees and to try to set up their first organizational meeting.
Okay, very well.
Very good. Okay, we're going to move on to item 11B. This is the Economic and Strategic Opportunities Department, Daytona Beach Kennel Club Family Carnival. This is a resolution. A resolution authorizing a special event permit to be issued to allow a family carnival on property located at 960 South Williamson Boulevard from February 15, 2024 to February 25, 2024, waiving restrictions of Section 5.4.C.4.B.ii.d of the City Land Development Code, establishing conditions and providing an effective date.
So move.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. I do have Jessica Gao here for any questions, but I have no other speakers.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0.
Okay. You're going to move on to item 11C, which is the Economic Development and Strategic Opportunities Department Bike Week 2024 Master Plan Amendment, Full Moon Saloon. This is a resolution amending the Bike Week 2024 Master Plan for private property approved by resolution number 2024-24, allowing 6 undeveloped lots as part of the master plan, subject to conditions, and providing an effective date.
So move.
Okay. And I do have speakers, Mr. Mayor. Our first speaker is Rhonda Harrison, and on deck is Sandy Murphy. Yeah.
Hi guys, how are you? Rhonda Harrison with the Main Street Hospitality. We are the new owners over on Main Street. We took over Dirty Harry's, Full Moon Saloon, and the Bank and Blues. This is our first bike week, so we had a small issue as we are going along and learning the ways of the applications with the city of Daytona. It is quite a bit more than we are used to. So there was an issue on attachment A, A6. It was marked as no paid parking, but then on our actual site plan, it said paid parking over here. So what we have is this is going to be paid and unpaid parking. We do have some vendors that park over there, and then also that is paid parking, as it has been for however many years when Teresa Doan was running the property. She has always had that as paid parking and some free parking for the vendors as well. So that is basically what we are asking, is if we could please go back to that being paid parking. It was an issue on our site. We thought we corrected it at the
meeting, at the Bike Week meeting on the 23rd, I believe, and it was just a discrepancy that was brought up in the meeting, and then it was corrected afterwards, and I was told that it was corrected, but it was someone from the city office who misspoke and said that it was approved, and we didn't find out until about a week ago.
Yeah, about a week ago.
That it wasn't approved for paid parking.
Yeah, and so at that point, I got a hold of Miss Rose Askew, and she kind of helped us along as we are learning, and she has been a very big help to us. But she explained what had happened. I was out sick with COVID during that meeting, so Hannah is our assistant here over at Main Street Hospitality. She stepped in for me. So it's basically just an oversight, and I'm asking that it go back to being the way that it has been for 20 plus years when Teresa Doan had the property. I think that's it. Okay. Thank you, guys.
I have 2 more speakers.
Oh, 2 more speakers, yeah.
Our next speaker is Sandy Murphy, and on deck is Ann Ruby.
Good evening, Sandy Murphy, 136 Park Avenue. I am here to read a letter into the record for Amy Pyle. You know that she's been very involved in Bike Week for a long time, is on the Bike Week Task Force, and she's not able to be here tonight. So I would like to read you this letter that she has written, and Ann will also be following up with a piece of that. Her Statement begins, a little background. These are the same 6 lots I brought up to the commission months ago, that the county had suddenly devalued and changed the land use code as a result of 35 plus or minus years of being used as a parking lot. The memo, which is in the attachment, states that at the Bike Week Master Plan Task Force meeting, there was a discussion between Task Force member Amy Pyle and the representative from Full Moon Saloon, 700 Main Street, regarding the use of the 6 undeveloped lots included in Full Moon's master plan application. She stated that she was concerned that the properties were in poor condition and did not feel that they should be allowed to be used for any type of parking. The representative explained that their application did not include a request for paid parking. Ms. Powell stated she did not feel any type of parking should be allowed on the lots. The discussion was actually between the representatives of the Full Moon and Rose Askew, after I pointed out that the parking on the lots in question was not appropriately included in the diagram submitted with the application. It merely stated parking with an arrow pointing off the page. After their discussion, Ms. Askew stated to the group they agreed that was included as an error, a leftover from using the same diagram on previous applications. They agreed to cross it off and remove those properties from the application. The statement in the agenda memo that I did not feel any type of parking should be allowed on the lots makes it seem arbitrary and simply an opinion of mine, when in truth, parking should never have been allowed on these lots in their condition in the first place. You can consult with code enforcement and planning, who should both concur that lots in this condition are not allowed to have parking. Now it seems the Full Moon needs the properties for parking and what sounds like storage of equipment and trailers, or their Bike Week activities cannot move forward. If that is the case, the application should reflect this, and the commission needs to decide how they want these lots used moving forward. I am merely pointing out the fact that the blight in this area can be remedied with better management and improvement of vacant properties visually throughout the year. These lots have historically been used to pay parking during biker and other events. Very recently, they were cited for allowing an RVer to set up camp there.
Our next speaker is Ann Ruby, and on deck is John Nicholson.
Ann Ruby, 137 Park Avenue, continuing Amy's comments. My recommendations would be that if you decide to grant the Full Moon's amendment to their application, that you decide on a path for the future. If these lots are going to be used for storage, then a PD is in order. Improvements and beautification of some type, I'm gonna have to take my glasses off, should be required. But these are residential and commercial lots. And if the goal of the CRA is to improve property value, ask yourselves, what is the best use for these lots? And there will be your answer. Thank you for your consideration of this matter. And that's the end of Amy's email. You should have gotten that this afternoon, probably too close to this meeting. That's why we felt it was important to read it into the record. I was at that meeting. I did see the Full Moon representative consulting with Ms. Askew and agreeing to take parking off the application. So I understand that they may be new to this site and that they may have discovered that they need to use this for storage for their itinerant vendors. But it should be very clear that there shouldn't be paid parking on this. They shouldn't be allowed to profit on this vacant lot in this poor condition the way it's been. So I think, you know, this time you might need to kind of go with what's going to make it best for Main Street, this event. But I really think, you know, the revision of the Bike Week Master Plan, it needs to take parking out of it. And, you know, Amy Pyle, just gonna, you know, give Amy some kudos here. She has been looking at this Bike Week Master Plan for years and trying to get y'all to listen to make improvements. She's a resident in the neighborhood. She has poured blood, sweat, and tears into improving that neighborhood. And the fact that these kinds of little glitchy applications come up all the time, over and over again, is just not right. And I really urge you to take a deep dive look at the Bike Week Master Plan and how it proceeds in the future. Thank you.
And our final speaker is John Nicholson.
John Nicholson, 413 North Cranberry Avenue. I know this is going to tee off Sandy, but 20 years ago or so, the city had a problem with the tearing down of buildings on Main Street to make parking. Then there were problems with the sand lots all over the place. The county had a huge one right in front of these people's home and would dump cow manure and all kinds of stuff in their front yard and leave it there until it dissipated. So we got together and we decided that in order to use a lot for parking, they could use it as unpaved for a year or two, and then if it's going to be longer, they had to pave it. They had to improve it. Well, this lot's been used for 38 years that I've been here for parking. They tore down the old homes that were on it, and they park on it year-round. So at some point, I think it should come into compliance that everybody else had to do. Gilbert had to do it on A1A, Main Street Station had to pave the area behind their building. So at some point, all of the businesses on Main Street should adhere to all our rules and regulations. The whole idea of the Bike Week task force was to put some organization and some standards into Bike Week, all right? We decided that they needed help to maintain themselves because we closed the beach on them. If you all remember, there used to be a drive right there onto the beach. In order to build Ocean Walk, we took driving off the beach. So at some point, they're using Bike Week not to improve their property, not to have year-round businesses. At some point, we have to look at the master plan so that it doesn't hurt us for development. Because they've torn down buildings that we said that we didn't want them to tear down. And they went down anyway, and so we said, well, now that it's down, then you can have vending. Vending is very lucrative, more so than having a business year-round on Main Street. Paving over all of the CRA is not the answer. So paving this as a parking lot isn't an answer. Paving every vacant lot for parking is not the answer. We need houses, we need businesses. We do not need parking. We have 5,000 parking spaces north and south of Main Street. We never need it except for 3 weeks a year. So we have plenty of parking. So at some point, please look at the master plan, take time out and say what works now, what worked 40 years ago or 30 years ago is not working now. Thank you.
And that was my final speaker, Mr. Mayor.
I do have a question. Rose, I heard a comment saying these new owners were in violation. Is that correct?
No. Denzel Sykes, who was the code enforcement manager, was there, and he said no, there were not violations on the property. We check that when we do the review as part of what we do, and if you look at the list, his comments said no violations.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening.
And one other
project manager for the city of Daytona Beach.
I'm sorry, I had one other question.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I believe, I don't know if you're working on that, the economic department is actually working about our parking areas to figure, because I did see that map and a lot of that didn't make a sense. Am I correct on that?
Yes, and there's an internal team that's working on updates to the master plan with Ms. Askew, City Attorney's Office, my office, and Jeff Brown and Development Service that will be bringing things back to you all
that is
prior to the
out.
next meeting.
Okay, thank you.
I received an email today, late this afternoon, from Ms. Pyle that she asked to be put in the record, and I have it here, which is what they read. I also have a verbatim transcript from the meeting that we had on January 5th for the task force meeting, and a lot of what was said is not what happened in the meeting. So I brought this for the record. She asked for hers to be put in the record, and I also wanted the transcript to show exactly what occurred in the meeting. We explained to Ms. Pyle she did not want any parking. Twice she wanted to deny the whole master plan just so they couldn't have the parking here. I explained to her that the only reason she could deny it was if they were in violation of the Land Development Code regulations or the master plan. She does not feel parking should be there. I did research after the meeting. I went all the way back to 2003. All of these parcels that we're talking about now have been in here the exact same way they were. What happened was, because they're new owners of the property, when she asked Ms. Pyle asked the question, I called up the representative and had her to address the questions instead of me. Ms. Pyle continued to answer questions, so all I did is try to clarify what the applicant was saying. She didn't realize that what she was saying would take away the parking that they typically use for their vendors. In your exhibit that I provided to you, Exhibit B, I provided a layout that shows where they are for Full Moon Saloon and where the parking will be for their vendors. If we do not allow them to use this, their vendors, once they unload and start the event, where are they gonna put the trucks and the trailers and stuff? And that's where they put them, is in the back. The application does say no paid parking, and in the description, there's no request for paid parking. And so when I went back and did my research, they filled it out exactly the same way that Ms. Doan has filled it out for at least the last 10 to 15 years. It's not any different from what typically happened. But because she was not familiar with the process, and she was a little nervous, she just went ahead and agreed with Ms. Pyle. She said afterwards, and I wasn't aware of this, she talked to the chamber and explained to them that she realized it was an error and wanted to change it. What I did is I called her and explained to her that we are not allowed as staff, once the task force makes a recommendation after the meeting, we cannot go back and change it. So what I did was I got with the city manager to find out how to handle this process, since it had already gone to the task force and the city commission had been approved. And the answer I got was to put it on the agenda for you all to decide whether or not you wanted to put it back the way that it's always been. I understand what Ms. Pyle is saying, but it is not the task force responsibility to decide that because you don't like the way somebody's property looks, that you want to deny them being able to participate. And I did explain that to her in the meeting.
Question.
Yes, sir.
Are we talking about unpaid parking for vendors, or are we talking about paid parking for attendees here?
We're talking about, if you look at your exhibit that's part of your packet that I gave you, it clearly says unpaid parking for their vendors. They have vendors who come in with trailers set up on their property. There's absolutely nowhere around there, once they've set up, for them to put their trailers and stuff.
Okay.
So they put them on those parcels.
I understand what you're saying, but I heard paid parking along with the vendors a few minutes ago, I thought.
You did, because that is what Ms. Pyle kept saying was paid parking. But the application did not have paid parking on it, and none of them in the past had paid parking on them either.
So if we approve this, it's just vendor parking, no paid parking for attendees.
It's the trailers and trucks for the vendors that are setting up on their property to be able to put them there until the event is over, and then they take them off, pack them back up, and they leave.
I want to be clear on something, because I think what Commissioner Strickland's referring to isn't what was expressed in Ms. Pyle's letter. The applicant got up, I believe, and asked for both vendor unpaid parking and paid parking at this meeting tonight. That's what she asked for.
I understand, but that's not what the request is for. I can only tell you what we put in here based on what the application was and the conversations that I had with her on the phone, and I emailed her the exact same exhibit that you all got, and I got nothing back asking for paid parking.
I'm just saying the applicant at tonight's meeting is asking for
Which is
paid
different,
parking.
and she
Yeah.
may, but that's
Yeah.
different from what our discussions were. So I can only speak to what's happened in the past, what this document is, and our conversations. If the commission chooses to allow them to have paid parking, that is up to you all. But the application clearly said no to paid parking. So.
I'm okay with vendor parking, not paid parking. And by next year, we need to address these lots in a more serious manner, because it's time for us to change the way we do business over on Main Street and in that area, if we ever want it to be any different from what it's been the last 30 years. But I'm okay with vendor parking there, just not paid parking.
Can I ask staff, what is the current zoning for those parcels?
I'm not sure right now. I'd have to pull it up and look at it. But It's part of the parking that they use regularly for Full Moon Saloon. They have, the parking that they use for Full Moon Saloon right now is where the vendors will be set up. If you look at the diagram that I provided you all, the vendors are set up on their normal paved parking lot. And so what happens is when they unload, they can't park on Main Street, so they have to have somewhere to put the trailers and the trucks and stuff when they unload, and they put them back there on those parcels.
I understand all that. I just want to know what the zoning is, and if, according to the property appraiser's office, when they changed the property classification, they said because the properties have been utilized as a parking lot for approximately 35 years. So if they've been using this property for 35 years as a parking lot, I just want to know what the zoning is. Do we allow it, and are they in compliance with our parking
And I
regulations?
can look that up and provide you with an
Because
answer.
that's important.
I can look that up and provide you with an answer.
Okay.
But I can't say as right now, because right now, the master plan doesn't require that we look at zoning. We have to look at whether or not the properties are included in the master plan boundaries. But I'll be glad to get the zoning information for you and provide you with that answer.
So we don't check to make sure that what the use is compliant with what the zoning is?
No, ma'am, not for the master plan.
Not for the master.
The guidelines supersede what they're currently doing on their property. They follow the guidelines that determine what they can do for Bike Week and Biketoberfest.
That's an exception.
Right, I understand, but they've been using this as a parking lot for 35 years. So I just want to know if it's zoned even outside of the Bike Week master plan.
Okay, I'll be
I
glad
can
to
find
look
out.
it up, but I
Okay.
I want to say one other thing. I'm
Sure.
not aware that they use it year-round, period. I can't answer that question. I can only answer for what takes place for Bike Week and Biketoberfest. And that is what they typically use it for Bike Week and Biketoberfest. I can try to do the research, but every document that we have says no paid parking, and they list those parcels on there, and when we go out and do our inspection, what we see on the properties are the trailers and the trucks and stuff from their vendors that are set up for the event.
And just for clarity, there are two things. The applicant has requested that there be vendor parking as well as paid parking also. That is their request. What you have from Ms. Askew is saying that they want to provide vendor parking for the area, but the applicant is saying they want to do vendor parking as well as paid parking for the event. That decision is at the discretion of the elected body on how they want to move forward with that. I do understand the value and the need for the vendor parking because those vendors would have to move other places. You all as a commission will have to decide if you want to allow for paid parking in those spots that, based off the information we received, they've done that in the past. That is the layout of it.
So how much time are you saying they did have paid parking? Because I misunderstood. I thought earlier that it was they
That's
did
what
not
has
allow it.
That is what has happened in the past, that it's paid. You have individuals saying they have not had that, but the new owner, based on probably historical data, has said they've had paid parking. However, tonight, the Ms. Askew is saying their application and their submittal is for the vendor parking.
Okay.
The applicant is saying that they need to have vendor parking as well as paid parking for their establishment. And that's the gist of it.
What's before us? Is what's on the application before us, or is
It's two
what
things.
the...
The staff is encouraging you all to support the vendor parking directly. However, the applicant is saying that there is a need for additional paid parking. And you all have to decide that as the commission.
Can we just approve the vendor parking without the paid parking?
Yes.
Yes.
Well, I'll make a motion, we just approve the vendor parking without the paid parking.
Are we saying PAID, paid?
PAID, yes,
Okay.
Second.
Oh, paid? No. Yeah, it's paid, but paid parking. So right now, I think
You've always said they've always had paid parking.
that is what's been communicated.
Okay.
They said that.
They said it.
Don't say that.
Our
The
records
do
don't.
not. The records, I pulled all the way back to 2003. All of the applications that we have had no for paid parking, but those parcels were listed as part of it for parking vendors and stuff. If they did paid parking during the event, I'm not aware of it. I'm not saying it has not occurred. I can only say I'm not aware of it.
did that and they weren't allowed to, that was a violation of whatever was going on, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Of what was on their application, yes.
Okay.
Previous owners.
Correct.
Go ahead.
The previous.
No, I'm sorry. It looks like the city clerk was going to ask a question for the
no,
record.
I already have a motion and a second to adopt what's in front of them, which is a resolution for unpaid vendor parking only. I don't think we need Commissioner Strickland's unless they were going to add the paid parking to it. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
So the motion originally made would have only allowed the unpaid vendor parking. Yeah.
I like to amend mine to add paid parking as well.
And she
So
did
you
make the
want
motion.
paid
I
parking?
did make the motion, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
So you want to allow for vendors and also allow for the applicant to be able to have paid parking for this
Correct.
event?
Okay. And Commissioner May was the second, so she would have to amend her second as well.
I'm not in support of that. So for me, it's just the vendor parking. That's
Okay. So the,
Send my original amendment.
Well, you supported, you seconded the original motion, which was
Yes.
to allow the unpaid
Yes,
parking
that's fine.
only.
Mhm.
So,
so
yeah.
I'm
she
fine
doesn't
there.
support this.
If you don't support it, the motion to amend dies.
Okay.
And they just have to vote it up or down.
And if I don't have a second,
It failed.
Yeah, your motion to amend fails.
So the vote would be under Cantu and May would be under the original with just the non-paid vendor parking,
Yes.
because that had a second.
Yes.
It's already seconded. There was a motion that was seconded on the floor
But
already.
she amended her second for only vending.
You didn't amend your, no. Her second was originally for the original motion.
Oh, okay.
So
Yeah,
the
and
original
yeah.
motion, so if you don't support it, you vote no, if you don't support just having vendor parking. And then if you want to change it, you make a different motion.
The motion on the floor is whether to allow unpaid parking only. That's the motion on the floor.
One motion.
Yeah.
You can't get to the second motion because you've already made a motion and she's already seconded, and she's not changing her second.
Right.
So it stands as it is, and we're gonna vote on that, and then if you wanna add another motion, addition, then we can do that. Do we have other questions?
Just unpaid parking is all we're voting on.
Yes.
For vendor parking.
Vendor.
Okay.
Vendor, unpaid parking.
All right. Do we have any questions or other comments here?
I'd like to know why Cantu wants to support the paid.
Because it's their property and it's, 2 weeks? Why are we turning down businesses trying to make money?
Okay. Well, okay. We really don't need to address that though, because it's not an item. I'm just saying, we can just come back to it. All right, we got a motion, we got a second. All those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0. All right, now let's go back.
And I would like to make a motion to add for paid parking.
Okay. You have a second? Commissioner Henry? Okay, now we'll have a discussion about that, and if we have residents that want to speak to the issue, we have to allow them to speak.
Okay.
Ms. Ruby's raising her hand, Mr. Mayor.
Come on.
Just put your
Put your name and we'll write it.
Yep,
Write it down.
state your name and we'll write it down.
Sandy, you can just say, we'll write it.
We'll write it.
Sandy Murphy, 136 Park Avenue. I want to say that this is the same situation that has taken us to where we are on Main Street. Every year, there are we're giving people incentives to leave their parcels vacant, make good money for 4 weeks out of the year, 3 weeks out of the year, and do nothing with them. And what we're saying, by saying, yes, go have paid parking on this, is, yeah, that's the way we like it. And if that is the way that you like Main Street, how it is right now, then vote for this. But if you think we need to have some kind of change that tells folks that we are serious about making Main Street better, about building on vacant parcels, about getting back tax revenues out of that, better tax revenues out of that street, then I think you have to draw a line somewhere. And every year, we push that back to next year. And I suggest that this should be the year where you just say no. Thank you.
Okay.
John Nicholson, 413 North Gravity Avenue. 30 years or so ago, Patty Evans allowed the Peabody parking lot to be free parking, and there was paid parking all the way around it. She needed money, and it's like, why don't you charge? You're the very center of Bike Week. And with that, we expanded the parking for Peabody to 9 locations. They made over $100,000 off Bike Week parking. During that time, I would help move money back and forth and whatnot. And one of the ways that I walked was through Teresa's parking lot. And I walked right in front of where this parking is located. And only once in 20 years did I ever see one person charge. And I don't know whether Teresa knew it or not. But otherwise, it's always been vendor parking and her employee parking. She hires like 20 security guards. They need a place to park. So the vendors park there, her normal people park there, and her add-ons park there. It has never, that I know of, been paid parking, and it really shouldn't change now. The idea that we should go cowboy and let everybody do whatever they want to do just so they can make money, this is not the way it should be. That's why we have the task force. Thank you very much.
Okay.
And Ruby, 137 Park Avenue. Just going to reiterate what was said before. 8 Ways to Sunday, the way people make money here is they do paid parking on vacant parcels that they keep blighted the rest of the year. And yes, I understand the priority of property rights and property owners and how their rights are important and what they want to do on their property is important. And I think tonight you have reached a compromise on this property for this instance. They are going to be allowed to park their vendors. Those vendors will also create a profit for them. They're going to make money from having those vendors. You've allowed that by allowing them to have storage. You do not have to allow them to have paid parking as well. It just, their private property rights do not trump what's necessarily best for the city. Thank you.
That's true.
Do you want to come up? And if you'll just state your name and address for the record, hon.
Hi, I'm Hannah Pollock, Main Street Hospitality Admin Assistant. So it was our understanding, our personal understanding, not based on city records, per Teresa Doan, that she did have paid parking here for many years prior to this one. This is our first year, so we did have a few discrepancies. The main thing brought up in that meeting with the task force was that our new site map that I created for this event said paid parking, and the one box on the application checked no. It was just a discrepancy because that's what Teresa had before, but we knew that this lot was supposed to be, and that was our mistake. But as far as the property being run down and not taken care of, we're trying our very, very best to improve Main Street. We want life brought back there, and that is what we are most excited about coming to these properties, and that includes the events, of course, because those are big money events. But we keep up with mowing. We have a regularly scheduled landscaping company that comes out there and takes care of all of our properties, including this one lot. And it is not paved, but we are trying our best to make everything look better and be better for Main Street and for Daytona. So, thank you.
Future. We've had many talks already, and so we do have, like you just said, things in place right now about parking and the Bike Week master plan, correct?
That is
And it will be coming before us. So I do not see what the problem is of a business owner who owns their own property to do what they want to do with their property for 2 weeks to make money.
Okay, do we have any other comments? No other comments?
I'll go out on a limb and say that we have residents in that area that have quality of life issues, which in my opinion are priceless, and they're out enough as it is. So if you put vendor vehicles in there in the morning, they stay all day. You put in paid parking, there's people coming and going all day.
All right, any other, okay, this is not a.
And actually, where they're talking about, I have parked there before.
Okay. This is not an easy issue, but I will say this. I've been up here for almost 15 years, and I have been a strong advocate for figuring out ways that we can get Main Street to be better. And very seldom have we done anything but the same thing. And that's been 15 years. Very little to almost nothing has changed. I am a little bit concerned about hearing that Teresa saying that she had the capacity to park, but the documentation doesn't say that. And I realize I've been here long enough to know that a lot goes on during Bike Week that, you know, outside of the law or outside of the rules of what we expect. So, I mean, we kind of know that that's kind of what it is. But we don't, you know, want to just be permissive, you know, when we are told of something that is not within the rule. This is not within the rule, and it's something that shouldn't have been done for the last 30 years. Now, if we want to change that, then maybe we ought to consider doing that. But overall, I just, you know, I'm like Amy Powell. I do want to see Main Street improved, but I believe that the people who own the businesses do too, so I'm not going to begrudge them, and I do welcome you all. And so we have no other comment. We're going to take a roll call.
I have one more comment. I know when Teresa decided to sell those 3 businesses, I know everyone, all the residents were worried what was going to happen the way on Main Street. So I'm welcoming this business owner because they did open those businesses back up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm welcoming them too. Okay. Any other questions? We have a roll call vote. We'll take a roll call vote.
Okay. This is for the second motion to add the pay parking. Commissioner Paris.
No.
Commissioner Strickland.
No.
Commissioner May.
No.
Commissioner Cantu.
Yes.
Commissioner Henry. Commissioner Reed.
Ooh.
Don't matter. Speak out. You have to speak out.
But the only reason I'm even considering it is because they're new, and they made a mistake.
They didn't make a mistake.
No comments from the choir. But you know, I too have stated that I'm just kind of tired of every time it gets to this point that we have to go through something like this again and again. But they've never been a part of that issue. So I'm going to say yes.
And I've been doing this for 15 years. I'm going to say no.
Okay. So the motion fails 3-4 for the paid parking.
And I want to say that's not a victory. It's not a victory to us. Before you leave, ma'am, if you would hear me, it's not a victory. It's not a win. And I do want you to be successful, and I will try to do things to help you in the future. So, okay.
Okay.
All right.
That was our final item on the agenda tonight.
All right. Let's move on to commission comments. Who's first?
Commissioner Paris.
Commissioner Paris.
I just want to congratulate the mayor on your mayor's gala. It was very successful, so thank you. And
Thank you. Thank you for coming.
And the other thing is, Victoria Falberg, the director of the First Step Shelter, during her speech, she made a really good point about homelessness. Affordable housing isn't the only answer to homelessness. So with that being said, I know that they have people with mental health issues, also substance abuse issues. So when we look at what we're approving and also for affordable housing, I just don't want to get bogged down that that's all we need and that's going to be the answer to homelessness. So I just wanted to share that with everyone here. Maybe we could do some more, probably to look for some services and just, instead of doing affordable housing. I know that we do have a lot of affordable housing units available. I looked online, so I did see that we do have it, and I don't want to be the only city that's participating in this cause, because we're a whole county. I saw that the county was going to be spending $50 million also on affordable housing. So just if everyone could keep in the back of their head that maybe we could do some services, because I think we do have a lot of affordable housing already. The other thing is, I wanted to ask Commissioner Cantu with TPO in regards to the LPGA project. I read something that it was going to take an X amount of years. I just want to know if you had any update on that, or if there's some way that you could.
Yeah, you did read something, and
Okay.
I actually didn't even understand what was being said in that newspaper, saying that TPO has done everything they could and the state has done everything they could. Well, TPO is local and DOT is state, so it didn't make any sense to me. But actually, we're still probably looking at another 5 years to tell the truth. But there is something coming up that actually I don't think anyone really knows on the TPO in June, which still going to be 5 years, and I'm trying to pull it up so I get it right. Money for the right-of-way. I think it was about a year and a half ago, we approved only around $700,000 to the right-of-way. But the TPO work program for June that we will be voting on or adopting for the right-of-way, we're going to be adopting 1.1 million 2027, 5.7 million 2008, and 3.2 million in 2029. So it's going to be about $10 million. I have talked to the county, and they are still negotiating with the state, taking over that road. And actually, the county side, they're fine. They're just waiting for the state to trade out, since the state is actually paying for it. So with this plan that we're going to be adopting, I mean, that's good news. We have all the money for the right-of-way. But if you look, 2029 is 3.2 million. So we're still looking at about 5 years. They're in the process of the design. They're in the process of the design. And so, yes, the money is not there for the construction. The design has to be complete to determine how much the construction will cost.
I just read it was like 20+ years, so I just wanted to make sure I'm okay with.
No,
Okay.
I mean, it could be a little bit longer than 5 years, but it's not going to be 20
Okay.
years.
I appreciate
The
it.
Dun extension, which is County Road,
Mhm.
that is also in the process of the design, and most of the developers will be paying that, like a project, Jessica Gal, that we approved up here, the INA. I think it was 344 units. They're paying up to their right-of-way. So I believe the Dun extension will probably be finished before this widening of LPGA.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's all.
All right. Commissioner Strickland?
Yes, I have received numerous phone calls and text messages about the Riverview School. And I had some comments I was going to state here, but as I understand it, our city attorney has spoken with the school board attorney. Could you update us on that before I go out and say something that's way out of line here, please?
Sure, Commissioner Strickland. So your question arose after I think the commissioners received an email about a plan or proposal on the part of the school board to close down the Riverview School. And my understanding is that the concern was that in addition to closing the school, that the school board was going to be demolishing the school. So I called the school board's attorney and spoke with him. They don't have any current plans to demolish the school. And he did make a commitment to me that if they were to demolish that building, that they would give us notice first and contact us.
So plan to close the school?
There is a plan to close the school.
What is their plan going forward after they close it?
I didn't get specifics from the school board attorney, but he said they are looking at ways to reuse that school.
Okay, so we're looking at adaptive reuse or just reuse for the school board?
The school board was talking about using the facility for some other purpose. I'm sorry, the attorney was saying at this point.
So at this point, there's no intention to close that school and demolish it?
Well, I think they're closing.
They're going to close the school, I know,
school
but
as
they're
a-
not
as
going
an
to just close it and demolish it or board it up. Is that
Right.
correct?
Yes. The other thing I want the
Well, we don't know, they gotta do something with it.
Yeah.
Sure.
If they don't do something to say if you're doing nothing, then that may be negative.
Absolutely. I agree.
I don't, you know,
I have a lot of people, though, worried about what they want to do with it.
have they abided by the interlocal agreement?
Well, I will tell you that there is language in the interlocal agreement that provides that the school board is supposed to notify the city prior to closing a school. But in my discussion with the school board attorney today, he told me that his interpretation of that provision is that applies to regular schools which have students coming predominantly from the area around the school, so that nobody in the area who might send their children to school is surprised by that, and that the elected officials who might serve those constituents are surprised by that. His interpretation was that that provision doesn't apply to the closing of this school.
Does it say that? I would like for you to look at it to see if it says that, because we still value the school as a commodity in our community. And for him to say that it sounds like him using a loophole to get out of complying with the provision.
Yeah, I could explore that further. That was the
Please.
first time I'd heard of that. In my reading of the agreement, I would not have read it that way or understood it that way. I'm explaining to you what I was told by their attorney.
I understand, but
Well, our expectation then is we expect them to abide by it. The interlocal agreement according to the way that you read it. I'll let you review it again, and if you read it that way, then that's the way that we want it to be addressed. Am I correct?
absolutely.
And if I can, just along those lines, continue. I also researched the question of the school board's authority to demolish the building. Now, as you might know, the school board doesn't have to come to the city to get building permits, including a building permit for demolition. And I think it may be exempt from the standard building code because schools have their own building code. However, the school district isn't exempt from our zoning regulations, our position would be, and those zoning regulations may actually impact this situation. My understanding, and I haven't verified this, is that school is a contributing structure in the Seabreeze Historic Overlay, which means that under our land development code, a contributing structure that before it gets demolished needs what's called a certificate of appropriateness. Now, if those are correct facts, the school board would need to get a certificate of appropriateness from our historic preservation board before demolishing the building. And if you'd like, I could certainly communicate back to the school board and with that information that's the city's position with regard to both that we should have notice of the closure of Riverview before that decision's made, and that B, we would expect that if there is a decision to demolish in the future, that they would apply and try to obtain that certificate of appropriateness.
That's all good, and I don't think that they're gonna wanna demolish it from what the cost of demolition is, from my understanding. The cost of demolition of the building is expensive.
Right.
Go ahead, you got it.
I was just gonna say, would there be a consensus for us to communicate with the school board that, in the future, that they not tear it down, and if that was their intent, to give us the opportunity to take that property over in some form or fashion. Demolishing that school in that neighborhood will cause, the vibration from it will cause terrible damage to some of those older homes around there, those historic homes. I know when they were preparing the ground to build the new school on it, they had a device out there that was packing the dirt, and it was rattling my windows in my house, and neighbors behind there were very upset that it was shaking their homes. So if there's anything we can do to make sure they don't demolish that and we get a shot at it, to repurpose it or something along those lines, the neighborhood there, the Seabreeze to University neighborhood, are terribly concerned about what's going on with that. So if you could please make sure that they abide by the agreement that they have, because something you just said, that the guy said it's not a school or per se or something. A school's a school to me. If you're teaching 5 kids in a building, it's a school.
Alternative school.
You know,
It's an alternative school where children come
It's
from
still a
across
school.
the district. But they're not, it's not a zoned school. You're not zoned to attend that school. It's when you get in trouble, then you go there. Okay.
So anyway, I'd like to make sure we keep a close eye on that and see if we can't preserve that property for the city, for the neighborhood, and for historic
Look,
preservation.
we need to talk about that because I don't know that I want us to own that building. And I didn't know that that was such an issue with demolition that it would affect and impact their homes. But I don't, you know, if it costs $5 million to demolish the building, they're saying that, or it costs $5 million to restore the building. I don't want the city to be left with that burden. That's what they're saying. If they were to restore and repair that building, they're saying at this moment in time, it would cost them $5 million.
They don't have a study, an architect, or anybody saying it's got $5 million worth of damage.
I'm aware that they don't have any of those things, but we just know that that's what they're saying, and that might just be a number they're throwing out. But I don't want us to take it over, and then we're stuck with a $5 million bill, and then we're stuck with a building that we can't afford to repurpose or rehab. So I don't necessarily want to just jump out on the limb and say, give it to us before you, demolish it or do whatever it is that you want. So I do want to sympathize with the residents, but I don't know the impact of demolishing it. Would it impact them in that way? So I think we'd have some more fact finding to do. But I am comfortable with the initial assessment that we made in terms of we want them to do what they should do. And I personally don't, that's just my opinion. I don't think they have to close the facility. They seem to be closing the facility. It could continue to function, as it is. But that's not my decision to make. But I'd rather them just keep it as a school. But I guess that they're going to make a different decision. Do we have any other comments? And I'll come back to you.
Okay.
Go ahead. Any other comments on that? Okay, go ahead.
I was just going to say that Saturday night was a lot of fun. There could have been some improvements, but, quite a few snafus there. Yeah. But most everybody I talked to enjoyed being there in spite of the pitfalls we got through. So thanks for putting that on, and we'll see you there next year.
Thank you for supporting it. Commissioner Meg?
So could I get an update on any improvements we're planning for Lenox Park? Do we have anything planned? I bring it up because I recognize we've made improvements over the past 6 years. There have been things taking place periodically. Do you have anything else planned, a conversation with the resident with something to the effect of it's falling apart, it's deteriorating, are we giving any attention to it? Are we planning anything? And also I mentioned that I would actually discuss it at dais. So I just want to know, do we have anything going on? Do we have a maintenance plan on it?
I think that staff is actually doing maintenance on it and working on projects, but I'll make sure to put something in writing that you can give back to the resident.
Is that it? Okay. Commissioner Cantu?
Yeah, I just have a few. I want to update on LPGA 95 going east on the sidewalks. I have talked to the county, and some of the missing sidewalks they said they would put in and pay for it, but we still need that easement for the Salvation Army, and I keep asking about it, and no one's telling me what is going on. And if the county's paying for this, I need this easement. And they said it could be a priority because it's close to a school as well. So, okay.
That's important.
Okay.
That's good.
And what was the other thing? Oh, this Saturday, the public's invited and the commission. There will be a Purple Heart ceremony at the Veteran Museum and Education Center, 302 Vermont Avenue. It's going to be a dedication of a monument that will be out in front of the Veteran Museum to honor the sacrifices of all of our Purple Heart recipients. And that starts at 2 o'clock, and the Veteran Museum is at 302 Vermont Avenue. Oh, Andy? Okay.
Nice jacket.
Easement, we're working on getting this description together, and we'll contact the property owner.
Awesome. I just don't, if I got county paying for this,
Yeah,
we
that's
want them to
correct,
pay
yeah,
for it.
fine.
And plus, we do, I mean, if you ever drive down LPGA going east, you see kids walking on the side of the road, and it's very dangerous. We need sidewalks.
Understood.
There have been times that I've been driving and people have been so close to my car that
Correct.
it scared me. You know, and on Clyde Morris, both.
Yeah, that's another one,
Scary.
too.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I know improvements to Clyde Morris are under design now with the state. We've been coordinating with them, and they're aware of the need there.
Okay, good.
Okay,
All right.
thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Keep going, Andy. You should have joined the Mayor's Fitness Challenge.
He's looking
Starting to
good.
shrink on me.
Yeah,
I see it.
yeah.
Shrink.
Also, Commissioner Cantu, Mr. Waller is here that could provide an update on Lennox Park. He told me he was still in the back. So I want him to also be able to provide an
Okay,
update
thank you.
of what he's been doing out there.
Good evening, David Waller, Public Works Director. Lennox Park, we've continued to do some maintenance items at the park. We recently replaced a bunch of old fencing and took advantage of the new code. It allowed us to put an 8-foot fence at the rear to stop the cross traffic from the property on the east side that is significantly higher, that made it crossing our old fence very easy to do. And we made some improvements to the dog park based on feedback from the users to provide a rear exit, secondary exit that was safe for the users and the dogs. And the only last item that's still in the works is we've ordered a shade structure that'll sit over a bench in the dog park area. I don't have a time frame for that. It's been ordered, PO's been issued. It takes, we're seeing delivery times about 8 to 9 months for that sort of equipment right now, so we don't have a schedule yet. Yes, ma'am.
While you're here, I just have a question. You might not have the answer, and I understand if you don't, because I haven't said anything for a while. But Rayners Park, is there any kind of update going on with that on LPGA?
We've done some survey work and did environmentals. We know where the wetlands and the uplands are. It's kind of some fragmented upland areas that are available, and we are preparing to bring back to the commission new landscape architect contracts, and one of the first authorizations we'll bring to them back to you once we have them on board is work to do some concepts and start doing design work for Rayners Park. We are working on the Parks Master Plan project, which we've talked about here, and a few months back we have kicked that off. It's about a 10 to 12 month process, and that is on their radar as well.
Okay.
And part of what their mission will be is doing surveys with the area residents to get a good understanding of what sort of facilities and amenities they would like to see in the park system on the west side of town.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
I have a question for David as well. Since you're over parks, you're over benches.
It's one of my favorite things.
Yes, and I inquired about a bench for Patricia Hurd, and I would really like to have it for the first bike week that she won't be alive.
Like a memorial bench?
Yes.
We did adopt a program that we do memorial benches in areas, and I can certainly help you along with that.
Okay.
Now we're working on one with Commissioner Piros for Bridgeport Heights, and we can do the same. We've got, just let me know the area, and we can help you through that process.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Any news on the tennis courts? City Island?
City Island, we currently have a consultant that is working on a cost estimate to be provided to FEMA that'll set our project value for the damage we sustained in Hurricane Nicole. And once we have those values, we can then decide how the city wants to move forward with reconstruction of tennis courts, whether they're in place they're relocated, or they're somehow built in a different fashion. The issue we have with the reconstruction is that the damage that we've claimed with FEMA for the cause of that, we'd have to build them back outside the floodplain if we're going to use their funds. City Island is in the floodplain. So if we were to build back in the same fashion, the city would need to do some of the construction at our cost, because FEMA funds won't allow us to rebuild something that'll have the same repetitive loss. And the elevation we'd have to go to would not be realistic at City Island. And of course, we do know also that the improvements planned for Jackie will impact that particular location. So we prefer to build them someplace that they're not going to be impacted by future development on the island.
But that particular place is in the floodplain anyway.
Everything on the island. Everything on the island is in the floodplain.
You have to go somewhere else.
Yeah, so you can build buildings because you can build the finished floor up, but the tennis court is at ground level.
Okay. All right, that's good.
So we've had some pretty good discussions about options on how to keep tennis downtown, and that's another item that the Parks Master Plan group is looking at, understanding the desire to have tennis downtown or somewhere near the beachside or in downtown area, and how we accommodate those users while also accommodating our collegiate and high school players that use the complex for competitive play.
That's good.
The master plan? The master plan is a 10 to 12 months process, and we started that about 2 months ago. So I don't have the schedule right in front of me, but we're looking probably about 8 or 9 months out before we have that. You will see a lot of more activity with that. Right now we're in the phase of gathering internal data. We're looking at our existing inventory, and they're doing some of that background stuff. That will be meetings to discuss that process with you guys as the elected body, and there will be feedback and surveys that will be provided to residents and users of our system to get an understanding of their satisfaction with current programming they'd like to see in the future, so that we can tailor the recommended CIP plan back to the commission that would include those improvements to meet the citizens' wishes and the community's needs, and for long-term funding for operation and for capital improvements. Yes, ma'am.
All right, I have another. I meant to ask this in my secret meeting yesterday, because we're putting, Don says our agenda briefings are secret meetings. We're doing electronic signs in all of our parks. Do we intend to do one at Tuscaloosa? Do we know, have we thought about that yet?
We haven't. That hasn't been on our list. I know we're working towards one that you spoke about at the Cherry Cypress Park Complex. The PIO has asked about the possibility of possibly having one at City Hall. Tuscaloosa might be another option that they'd like to do. That office is looking for spaces to kind of spread the message around town. And so the two spots they've had its focus on is potentially here and Cypress. But Tuscaloosa, it's completely up to.
And so if it's not something that's coming in the near future, the signage we do have needs to be replaced. It's leaning, it's like rotted wood. And also the zip line people, they need to do better than just some tethered banner to say zip line. It's a main entryway for citizens coming in. If we want to attract them to go to that park, then it needs to look attractive.
We are working on some signage at a lot of our parks right now. We've got a little bit of funding in this year's budget, and we're tackling some of the smaller sites. Tuscaloosa's, because of its location and the size of the park and its prominence on the intersection, our typical little sign we're putting out, I think, would be underwhelming at Tuscaloosa. But it ought to be a site that we could look at something a little bit more robust to celebrate that park. And the zip line folks, we don't do their signage. I'm not sure exactly what their contractual agreement is, but we can certainly share their concerns with them as well.
And let me say this. You and your staff have done a beautiful job at Daisy Stocking Park.
Oh, thank you very much. We are super excited about that park. It is on schedule. Their contract is up through the middle of March, and we expect to meet that deadline. And they have committed to having the parking lots open and usable, while maybe not in 100% finished condition for the Bike Week activities, so that the neighborhood and the business owners will have its use. The park itself likely to still be closed, or they are trying to make that target. We're gonna, parking lots paved starting Monday, curbs the following week, landscaping the week after that. So, I mean, we're rapidly zeroing in, and you'll see a finished product very soon. Very excited.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's something to jump up and down about. Yeah, Commissioner?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, I gave it to him.
Two more things. First of all, I'd like to thank the Daytona Beach Fire Department. They did a great job keeping my Margaritaville residents informed what was going on with the fire, that it was not their responsibility or their fault that they got blamed. It was the state forest that does the prescribed burns. So I'd just like to say thank you. My residents were very pleased with all the information. The next thing is the forms. If you guys haven't turned in your forms, February 21st for the city manager's evaluation. So if anybody hasn't turned it in, please turn them in to Jim Sexton. And that's it.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Henry?
Speaking of parks, I would like to know what is going on with the master plan with Derbyshire Park. We have quite a few projects that we have planned and said that we were going to be doing, and I want to know where we are with the Derbyshire Park, some beautification and different projects going on there. So if you could get back with me on that, I would really appreciate it. Also, I would like some more information about the sidewalks on 5th Street that are all uneven and that are a tripping hazard, and it feeds, those sidewalks feed right from the elementary school right there, West Side Elementary. And I'd like to know if staff got a chance to go out and look at those as I had asked. Next thing is, I was in the store and I got a pleasant comment from one of our residents. She was pulled over by the Daytona Beach Police Department because she had a broken tail light. And she said she was very nervous because he told her to wait right there, and he started calling for backup. And she was waiting for a very long time. And when backup came, they came with the certificate to get her tail light fixed. And for the $250 program that we have going on, that they're fixing the tail lights of different residents if they pull people over. And she said that the officer was very kind to her. He just talked to her and her husband, introduced himself, and he told her he didn't want her to be worried. He just didn't have any more certificates with him at the time, and he was waiting for backup to bring the certificates. And she just thought that that was such a wonderful program for the city to think so much of their residents to do something like that. So that's just wanted to let Chief know that that's a great program that we have going on. And I hope we can continue it going forward. I know that I asked him how was he able to pull that program together, and he said a lot of the car dealerships put in money to help fund those vouchers for the people to get their taillights fixed. Gladys Knight was amazing. She really was. Really enjoyed her. So thank you to the Peabody and the board that are working hard to continue to bring great entertainment to the Daytona Beach area and to our Peabody Auditorium. Having said that, I want to make sure that our children have access to theater. And so I would like to be sponsoring girls to go and see Annie, because Annie is coming on the 20th and 21st. And so I want to give girls in our community the gift of theater. And so if you email me or who else can they email about? They can email Bobby Yarbrough regarding tickets for one parent and one girl, or if they have two girls, to go and see Annie on the night of is it the 20th or 21st? Tuesday night. And the girls are going to be treated to Annie, and Annie is a pretty expensive play that's coming, and they're going to get popcorn and drinks and all of that. So bring the girls out. Tickets are
Daytona Beach residents, right?
Daytona Beach residents. You'll need to show your,
Just call. They can
Just
pick
call.
Their residents.
yes, we'd like for the girls to dress up. And if possible, I'd like for you to let them watch both Annie movies. So there's a remake that's recent, and then there's the original, so that they can do a comparison and contrast of the original, the remake, and the play. And so I think that that's a good activity, school activity or educational activity. So tickets are very limited, and we're going to sponsor some foster children as well, some children from foster care, so caseworkers can reach out as well for children in the foster care system to be able to go. And they've already started reaching out, some of the caseworkers. And free tennis lessons are being offered at our park right now, and you can bring the children out. And Ms. McCoy does a fantastic job with our tennis program, and she just wants everyone to know that they have space available for children right now to play tennis, and it's free. And those are my comments for tonight, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Commissioner Reed?
Yes, sir. First, I'd like to thank Commissioner Strickland and Paris for accompanying me to the Volusia League of Cities dinner. We had a great time. Food was good. Never been to that site before, Lake Helen, to support Vernon in his election as mayor. I also said something about Gladys Knight. I said she was amazing, and I wanted to thank the Peabody staff for continuing to diversify our talent. Black History banners. We had our dedication, and the families were there, and I tell you, just really, Commissioner Paris was there with me as well. It's just really something to hear the stories that the families tell in regards to the banners as we dedicate their family banners. So as you're driving down International Speedway Boulevard, you'll see banners of 16 African Americans who made contributions to our city. This is our 4th year doing this. This is through MCDC, Midtown Community Development Corporation. And Ann and Sandy were there as well. Sandy's on the board. And just to hear, I knew several of these individuals. One in particular was Freddie Moore, who was a predecessor of mine. She sat in this seat. She was the first African-American female city commissioner. She was the first African-American female county councilwoman. And she was recognized. Her husband was recognized a year prior, and he had been the commissioner, and he had an untimely demise, and she ran in his seat, and she fulfilled that seat. So there were a lot, like Biggins and Meats from the pharmacy. So we did one for Biggins and one for Meeks, because it was 2 different families that came together. First African-American pharmacy in Daytona. So there's a lot of history here in our city. And I'm just so proud of that board and how we continue to showcase those citizens. Also, Culture View, the Culture View exhibit. If you haven't gone, you really need to go. This year, one of the representatives that's being featured is Dr. Stephanie Paisley Henry, who happens to be the wife of the mayor, and so many others. And it just really, the chief is out there as well. I think, Mayor, you were there last year, and I was in the inaugural year.
First year.
The first year. You in the first year with me? Oh, okay. And look, I wasn't there. I had another obligation. But you really should go. It's right out there where Steinmart and the old Navy was, and just see the photos that they've taken of folks and hear their stories. Citizens right here in town, young and old, children and adults alike. It's for the month of February, so I encourage you to go. It's free. Just go and support that initiative as well. And then I just want to also start to advertise that our annual Daytona Beach Crab and Seafood Festival will be on April 27th. And we're expanding the road this year. We're bringing more vendors. We've already began to meet to organize this, so we're very excited, and I hope to see each and every one of you there. Those conclude my comments.
Great job. Great job. Well, first of all, I want to thank each of you that were able to attend the second annual Mayor's Gala to benefit homelessness, specifically to address homelessness with the First Step Shelter. This year's gala had more hiccups than last year's gala, and those hiccups that we had last year, we thought we would correct this year, but we didn't. But we still raised probably as much or more money, which is the bottom line, but you want folks to have a good time and not be impeded by technology. That's how you grow on what you have done. So we will try again next year not to have so many hiccups. And I do specifically apologize to any of you who had trouble with your seating. There was a misunderstanding between our director and myself as it related to our seating, which my mayoral seatings were not related to the city's seating. I have sponsors who sponsor tables for me specifically, but there was a hiccup. Because one of the things you always want to do is, a lot of times people will pay for it, will sponsor it, but they don't need all of the seating that they request. So you try to get it exactly right so you don't pay for tables that you don't have to pay for, because the more money you get, the more money that goes to the cause. We have some pretty heavy hitters donating to the cause. But again, thank you for attending, and we'll be better next year and hopefully raise more money. I don't want us to mix, and I do understand that we do have more affordable housing than anyone else in Volusia County, so that's not lost on me. But we also have the lowest median income of anyone else pretty much in Volusia County, with the largest population. So when we serve those with affordable housing needs and who are mired in that crisis, we're just serving the people who live in our community. And I don't want us to lose sight of that because other people in other communities may not do what they ought to do. And so I did meet with staff recently, and I am hopeful that we will have, something before us soon, some things for us to consider. And I still believe that we should still be considering, funds where, I forget what's the name of it, when they, linkage fees. That was one of the issues that we had, and I believe that we should still consider that. And I would also want staff to be considering ways that we can incentivize, encourage people who are invested in our community to support our initiative, because this is the most important, the biggest crisis that we have in this community. I don't know what you all receive, but almost on a daily basis, or at least weekly, I receive some correspondence about the difficulty that people are having with keeping up with the rising and escalating costs for rent and to live in this community. And so if the folks who are investing in the community, and many of whom are coming for PDs, I don't think it's inconceivable for them, when they're coming with PDs, to perhaps consider incentivizing this project also. I know we can't legally make that an expectation or requirement, but they know the needs, and I think the needs of what the community have, if that's expressed, some of the development companies will be interested in supporting that. There's just so many good things that you all are engaged in as a staff, and you all are engaged in as a commission. I regretted not being able to be at the banners unveiling recently, but Nettie Ryan, just a hero of mine. Obviously, Janice Wilson, everyone on that list. And then I had someone who asked me, the banner that the city made with all of the pictures, I don't know who made that banner or the picture I posted it in social media. I don't know who made it, but someone asked if they could purchase that. And I don't know if we have a way of printing it or duplicating it. You know which one I'm talking about? Yes. It's just, with all of the pictures, I didn't think that it could be, but they asked. And that's just to tell you how impressed they were with that particular item, that they wanted to purchase it. As you all know, I did want to commend you on that idea to send little girls to Annie as we recover from COVID. Remember that's what ARPA is about. That's really, it's still about recovery. And a part of recovery is, I'm very proud of the ways that you all have found to help our community and to show our community that we value them and that we value their mental status, their ability to rebound from that time period and from what we've gone through as a community. So that's a great idea. Miss McCoy, retired, who is runs the tennis center. She was a 35-year teacher in Volusia County. Now she's retired, and she and her husband are just working to invest and take care of our children through the program. As you all know, I wasn't at the last meeting. I was in Washington, D.C. at a mayor's conference, and I normally do not go to the one in January. I usually reserve and only go in the summer. It was cold. It was freezing cold, and I wanted to be home. But it turned out to be a trip that I didn't ask for or expect, but I spent time in the White House with the president in an informal meeting with other mayors where he answered some tough questions and gave a homily on things that he has accomplished and things that he's doing. I spent time also with the vice president, both of whom she also gave us a speech. But most importantly, we were there for the American Food and Beverages giving us a $125,000 grant. Can you go ahead and play the grant for us, sir? Welcome to Daytona Beach, one of America's fastest growing cities. It is a primary objective for me to inspire exercise, movement, learning. I think they all go together. We know that in the summer that there's this, what we call an education brain drain, educational slippage or loss. We want to abate that. We also want it to be fun. The Mayor's Math and Fitness Boot Camp is just that. It's math and it's fitness and it's boot camp.
The students are singing, they're dancing, they're exercising, and they're learning simultaneously. We know that every child can achieve. And when you speak their language, we see the difference.
Last year at summer camp, we had it at 2 camps with wonderful success. The math fluency went up remarkably. Some of these children didn't know any of their math facts and got all the way up to a B.
And we definitely see an increase, not only in the test score, but also in confidence and self-esteem and motivation to learn.
They go away and they say, man, I never knew math could be so much fun. With this funding source, I'm excited because all of the children who attend our community programs will now get what only a few have been availed to in the past.
This year, we're going to not only do it at all 4 camps, but we're going to bring it to our one after-school program. The idea that we can expand it, more than double it, and bring in all these other programs is such a blessing.
Any number that's multiplied by 0.
Getting the grant means the world to me because I know that we are going to change the world. These students will grow, they will improve, they will be inspired. So thank you, and we are extremely appreciative of it.
To the American Beverage Foundation for a Healthy America, and to my friends at the U.S. Conference of Mayors, thank you. Thank you on behalf of our children. Thank you on behalf of our citizens. You've made Daytona Beach a better place, a safer place, a healthier place. And our children will be the beneficiaries because of your generosity. Very appreciative of staff and those who assisted me. I wrote the grant, and staff helped with the budgeting, and I'm very excited about this because, as you all know, moving children for me is my life's work, and I'm happy to see our city so engaged in that. And thank you to everyone who's helped with it. And that concludes my comments. Mr. Manager, did you have anything?
No comment.
I just had one thing, Mr. Mayor and City Commissioners. At the last commission meeting, a question came up regarding the ARPA fund grants that we typically give. One of the citizens suggested that we should only be giving those funds to businesses located within the city, and she was holding a document that seemed to suggest that that was a requirement of the city. Now, I didn't see that document, but I checked with Assistant Deputy Manager and Fire Chief Driscoll afterward. We had adopted a program, a separate program, to spend some of those ARPA funds for post-hurricane relief, where we were giving local businesses rehab grants. It was a requirement of that program that they be located within the city, but there is no requirement in general when you donate the ARPA funds, other than that it be for a nonprofit purpose, and that the money would be used to assist Daytona residents.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'll give you a classic example. Mr. and Ms. Mentoring is located, his office is located in Holly Hill, but 90% of the people who he serves are in Daytona Beach. We are, you know, a collaborative community. The First Step Shelter is an example of that, where we, you know, we run together. I mean, 20% of the students that I serve at Ormond Middle are from Daytona Beach. 30% of the students that I served at Holly Hill were from Daytona Beach. That's just the way the land is laid out. But our objective, of course, here is our residents. But you know, we're not going to hurt anybody if we serve a child or two from Holly Hill or Ormond. I don't think. But that's you know, I think we're doing a good job of serving our residents and loving on our people. So, okay. No other comments? Well, we will hear at this time from the citizens of Daytona Beach.
Okay. Our first speaker is Mr. Marvin Sutton. And on deck is Elizabeth Jackson.
Well, he's talking out there.
How you doing?
Doing well.
First off, I've been harassed by a lot of cops and a lot of other people, and I reported it to the police, and they refused to give me my rights. And I have a disability check, and I need it to maintain throughout the month. And someone that switched my accounts totally, tremendously. I reported it to the police, and you guys won't do nothing about it. So I'm just hoping it gets better for me.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Elizabeth Jackson. On deck is Marjorie Johnson.
Good evening. My name is Elizabeth Jackson. I'm here on behalf of Majesty 565. It is an OES chapter in Daytona Beach. For the last 15 years, we have had our Easter egg hunt at Derbyshire Park, and we would like to continue that with the help of the commission, if they would be willing to help fund our event. And you have the paperwork here. I believe you guys have that.
I'm on board. I don't know what I gave last year, but I'm on board for whatever I gave last year, and I'll do it through ARPA.
Thank you. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
And I'm on board. I think every year I do the park fees, right? Yes, ma'am. I'll continue to do the park fees.
Mic is off. I'll continue to do the park fees.
Thank you. And while I'm here, while I'm here, I just want to officially thank Commissioner Henry for donating our book vending machine to Palm Terrace Elementary. I do have a plaque that's still sitting on my desk that I have to give to you. If I would have thought about coming here, I would have brought it here. But we appreciate you. You have been used daily. The kids are happy. I'll send you more pictures so you can see them too.
Okay.
When you get back to Palm Terrace, would you tell Ms. Troutman that West Side, what's your school? R.J. Longstreet, Campbell, Champion, have all sent me names, and a couple other schools, of 8 scholars for the mayor's scholar program to have a limousine ride and lunch with the mayor. And I forgot to say this, Commissioner Paris was the first commissioner to join me. Whenever we do these, if you want to join me as a commissioner, I love having you. The kids are, they're in heaven. Because we pick them up, we take them to a restaurant, we feed them, we give them awards. It's the mayor's honor program for the scholars. I think if she needs any more correspondence, tell her to reach out to me or Ms. Goodman, and we'll get it to her, but I haven't heard from her.
Okay, I'll make sure.
All right.
Also,
Thank you.
Also, Palm Terrace has a new commissioner.
Commissioner Reed.
Commissioner Reed is now your new commissioner.
Hi, welcome. Thank you.
Okay.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Thank you.
Our next from Turity? For the?
Turity,
You
we've
didn't
been to
name them.
Turity.
Okay.
Yes.
I don't see her, but is Marjorie Johnson still here? Oh, okay. Our next speaker is Marjorie Johnson.
Marjorie Johnson. I'm here tonight because I'm very disappointed in the fact that the city our recreation building has not been repaired. You, Mayor Henry, Paul Reed, J. Henry, a lot of you have been here, and you sat there and allowed that building to deteriorate and rot out. And it's now that it's time to fix it, you know, nothing has been done to repair it. And, you know, that building, if it had been kept up, we could still enjoy using that building. So I'm urging all of you tonight, because she wasn't here, neither was Ken, when this building went into deterioration. So this is why I'm calling the name. And the city manager, he wasn't here either. So he has nothing to do with that. That all happened under the former city manager. Just sat there. We used to have our meetings in there, save our neighborhood meetings. And now that building has rotted out, and you're sitting here like you don't know what to do to get it fixed. It was part of your job that we paid you to do, to maintain that building. So I'm encouraging all of you tonight to fix that building so that the residents of this city can begin to utilize it again. My Aunt Constance Oliver had her big wedding anniversary there in that building. And she is the mother-in-law of Percy Williamson. So let's do your job that we're paying you to do. You're sitting here getting a paycheck. That building needs to be fixed. Also, I like to say that there is a need for a police review board. We have a lot of unfairness going on, a lot of discrimination going on. You're putting these signs on seats. They put signs on seats here when they honored Lynn Thompson. Then they made me move out of my seat. Now, I've been coming to City Hall for over 55 years, and we've never had that before. You don't need to be putting those signs on these seats. These seats, I am a taxpayer. I have paid hundreds of thousands of dollars. I've been in my house over 55 years on taxes. So I want you to leave these signs off this seat. They had them up here less than 2 weeks ago on the seat again. They never had that under Bud Asher. They never had it under Scarlett Golden. They never had it under Glenn Ritchie. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. You're here to do the people's work, so keep these signs off these seats. It's a disgrace that you're putting signs. We need a police review board because they moved me from my seat and the police came up here talking about come outside. I'm not going outside. Where's the police chief? So I went out there. Oh, I heard you sat in the little boy's lip. So Tony Service sent him a statement. That never happened. And so they should not be telling people to sit in a public building. That is not part of your job. Injustice anywhere. Stop discriminating against our taxpaying residents. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Roberto D. Nocella, and on deck is John Nicholson. Nicolo, I'm sorry.
Hello, Roberto Di Nicolo, 2020 South Peninsula. Thank you,
for letting me speak. So I've been here before about tennis courts on City Island, and I think it boils down to the city staffers are working right now on various options, I understand. But I think it boils down to use, health, and cost. Use, hard courts don't get used. Clay courts are in high demand everywhere, and the reason is on clay courts, people don't hurt themselves because you can actually slide on the clay and you diffuse that energy and you don't get jammed. The injuries on tennis courts happen because of jamming on cement. And the more they paint them, the more that jamming occurs because the rubberized paint doesn't allow for any sliding. So players, if the staffers are interested in the opinion of players, it would be lovely if they would be able to give their input about this. The cost, I've studied this for about 1 year, and while the common belief is that cost is much higher for clay courts, it is exactly the opposite. Tennis courts made of clay cost less on average than cement courts. And maintenance is another myth. A lot of the maintenance on clay can be done by the players themselves, whereas hard courts, when they need to be repaired, oftentimes is because of cracks, and you have to basically rebuild the entire court. And so that's all I wanted to say. Thank you so much.
Our next speaker is John Nicholson, and on deck is Frederick Brown.
John Nicholson, 413 North Grandview Avenue. A couple of things. One, from what I understand, Riverview is going to be moving to the old Osceola location in Ormond. Two, we've had problems with the school board in the past.
Yeah, we got problems now.
When Bonner was closing, it was not public notice. I happened to be at the meeting, found out about it, came back, spoke about it, and we had meetings to try to keep it open. They were a little bit dishonest. Their view was that the HUD housing that was going in across the street that would open up 1 month after the beginning of the new Bonner was supposed to go in, they averaged that all those apartments would have 1 child per apartment. So those 3-bedroom apartments with 1 child did not seem logical to me. So their premise was there was no children, so they didn't need to build it. So they were not honest. The Armory with the county, that was a free building. We could have had basketball courts right there, given to the France family. The lift station, I didn't realize the look of it. That tiny home that's going to go on the property will lower property values. As I've mentioned before, the property values in that area, there's a house down the street, $795, $850, $680. Then you're going to put in a little tiny house with ugly blue and white, cheesy look. It's not a good look. Secondly, it was mentioned the lowest median income is in the city of Daytona Beach. We chose that. We worked at getting our property, our values down. It was our fault. When Pete Gamble was there, he was surprised at what we did. We drew poor people from 5 counties and 16 cities into our city. We had the largest number of HUD housing. People that get into HUD housing are not millionaires. They're poor people. So the more poor people we put into our HUD housing, it was nice of us to do that, but we had to expect our income level would go down. So we shouldn't be shocked at it. It doesn't say anything about the community other than the fact that we did fantastic on supporting HUD housing for those people that need it. So don't look at it badly that we have low housing. It does affect our ability to attract businesses, et cetera. But our good deeds should not go punished. Lastly, I'm asking you to, when you do the charter review, that we look at when we do the rezoning.
Listen, Daytona Beach has always had more housing than everyone else in Volusia County from the days of Mary McLeod Bethune when she went to Washington D.C. and she brought Pine Haven and those other projects to Daytona Beach. Actually, the amount of HUD housing went down under Pete Gamble, and these newer residents hold less housing than they did before. And we elevated it back up. Our median income is lower than the rest of the communities. We still need affordable housing. Yes, sir.
Thank you. Frederick Brown, 1508 Crescent Ridge, Daytona Beach. Mr. Mayor, I appreciate your confidence in the selections for the charter review. It was exciting to see a great number of applicants. I wish all of our other boards had it. And I do want to task the commissioners in each of their zones to try and get more people to apply for some of these boards. It's always sad when you just see nobody applied for a board or to see vacancies. One of the boards that I consider very, very important, of course, is the Parks Board, which I attend regularly. I know a lot of questions came up today about parks. The advisory board, I'm just not seeing a connection between the commission and the Parks Board on some recommendations. I know, Mr. Mayor, you and I have visited parks, intimately involved with the Bridgeport Park thing, and there's some other opportunities on Beachside because Zone 1 still has no park. We did miss you at the last meeting. It was a busy meeting, but your trip to Washington obviously was well worth it, and it was good to get that. I would like to see that boot camp, which is exciting stuff, having worked with kids myself. Be nice to expand to other areas besides math. We happen to be in the middle of the Space Coast. There's so many opportunities here, and getting kids involved and bringing our school system up, I think is key to, as you just mentioned, bringing our income levels up in Daytona Beach as well. It was nice to see Dave Waller out here. He's a fountain of information. We probably ought to have a Dave Waller report in the meeting. I'm sure he doesn't want to hear that back there, but he is a fountain of information. Sometimes the wheels of progress are very, very slow in getting started, but once Dave's on top of a project, I know he gets it done and gets it done right. So it was exciting to see him in here. I am disappointed that I can't see my friends in the AV department behind the wood wall now, but and they need a peephole so they can tell when microphones aren't on so we can hear. What's that? Yeah, I know, but you understand what I'm saying. I do miss the guys up there. They work very hard, by the way, at the Mayor's Fitness Challenge and do a great job there as well. I do want to concur with what Marjorie Johnson had to say about the Orange Avenue Rec Center. We need to not let that building fall apart. There are knocked out windows, rotten wood, and things like that that can be easily addressed to preserve the building. I know the city manager was stated that he was behind preserving that, and I would like to see something done because I agree it's a great facility and it's very well constructed. It just needs to be maintained. Flooding, again, I can't tell you how important that item was on the agenda. I do encourage all the commissioners to visit that area and see for yourself. That is the most important pump in all of Daytona Beach. It's what will save Midtown and Newtown. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Steve Miller, and on deck is Lucas Teeter.
Steve Miller, 386 Walnut Street, 222 Garden Street. Mr. City Manager, that property is getting awful. Now they repairing cars there. There's 2 boats, a couple of motors on the ground, and the lady come to the neighborhood watch, and she complained every week about this property. And now that we're recording our meeting and putting it on Facebook, I'd rather see that property cleaned up for her to be coming to the meeting saying it every week. We have a neighborhood watch meeting for the 12th, which is Monday, and we'd like to invite you guys to come out. It's transform 386, $350 million, and they're going to have representatives from the county, and they're going to be taking applications and helping folks with the application. So please come out and check that out. The Peabody Auditorium and the new activities and the great entertainment, you guys have diversified the board, and we're going to have a lot more great activities so that the entire community can enjoy the Peabody Auditorium Board. And Mr. Mayor, thank you very much for the appointment to the board tonight. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
And our final speaker is Lucas Teeter.
I moved here from the Naples, Fort Myers area in 2021, and I loved coming here. There was a lot of trees. It was wide open. I have some concerns about the overdevelopment going on and the traffic. And my question is it Mrs. Cantu, because I'm in the LPGA community. I'm curious, not the cell towers that you just approved, especially the one behind the fire station. Did you look into any kind of health effects on the community in association with putting in those towers?
If you want me to answer.
Sure.
Yes, I did. And actually, not one complaint. The entire HOA, all the HOAs wanted it. Margaritaville, I actually I go out to all the communities once a month. LPGA wanted it, Bayberry wanted it, Margaritaville wanted it, Preserve at LPGA wanted it, and Champion. There's only been one person that came before us, and actually I talked to that person afterwards, and they were completely fine.
I'm not saying about the HOA, I'm saying did you look into the health effects of putting in these towers in residential communities?
I didn't personally look at it, but I have talked to all the residents and got their feedback. They're the ones that came to me and wanted the
Fair enough. Okay.
You're welcome.
So interestingly enough, we have those 2 cell phone towers that we put in, but I invite the mayor and I invite you, Mrs. Cantu, to come with me at 6 o'clock to try to get over that Tomoka Farms Bridge. And I put my life in my hands trying to get over that bridge because the amount of development that we're doing here and the amount of cars and speeding cars. Now, I live on Perfect Drive in Daytona Beach. Nothing is being done on the speeding. I exercise at 5:30 in the morning. I start work at 7. I'm out early. There is speeding. I've had cars come within millimeters of hitting me, and nothing is being done about the speeding. And I'm holding you guys responsible for that because we don't have any patrols. Nobody gets pulled over for speeding, and there's continual development. There's going to be more cars. And that's my concern. I'm concerned about all that, all the speeding, all the cars. Nothing's being done about it.
Okay. Do you want me to speak?
Sure, yeah.
Okay, because this is the first time hearing it from you, and I can tell you, the chief is right here. They are out there all the time. Actually,
Ma'am, I work from home. I don't see any posts.
the captain is out there talking to the community. They are out there at Mosaic because actually and Bayberry because actually I get a lot of complaints because they are patrolling too much in the area. And Chief, would you like to speak on that for you? Would you like him?
Please, because I want to get it out in the open so
Yes.
we can get it.
All right, sir, if you can step away from the
Yes,
lecture
yes,
so
ma'am.
he can.
Yes, ma'am.
Good evening, Chief Shakari Young, Daytona Beach Police Department. So as Ms. Cantu is stating, we do get complaints periodically, and when we get those complaints, we jump right on it. We send folks out there, we start writing tickets, and then the complaints kick up because those that get cited, they live out there, and they think it's unfair that they're now getting tickets. So it's more than the speeding. We get the parking complaints, we get music complaints, and, you know, we have great lines of communication between the police department and the commissioner assigned to that area. And I think we got emails to show just how much activity, you know, occurs out in LPGA and our response to the myriad of complaints.
And I concur because I'm telling you, anytime I get a complaint, I call, they're right on top of it. Then when they're out there patrolling, then I get complaints because they're getting ticketed. So we can't make them happy either way.
Traffic never makes anybody happy. You had another minute.
Yeah,
Come
you had
back
another
up.
minute.
Mhm.
As an
And also to talk about LPGA, LPGA is a county road, and we are working on that, helping with the county and the with me being on the TPO. So I think you need to actually go to the county and talk to them
Because I talked to the county and they're saying, we're not gonna do anything about it because it's a city road.
no, LPGA is a county road and state has taken it over.
I asked them specifically, they said, no, this is handled by Daytona Beach Police.
We
Oh,
do not have
police.
control.
You're talking about police. She's talking about the widening of LPGA and the bridge.
Correct.
Saying, and the
Okay.
traffic and the road itself.
Right, but.
That's two different things.
But then the county's saying, you guys, it's handled under city as far as if you're talking about Tomoka Farms Bridge, and then the city's saying, you guys are saying
No.
county,
No,
and the state's coming in and saying something else. So, but somebody's gotta be held responsible with this overdevelopment. Somebody's gotta say.
And
something.
I can tell you, from west of 95, there's no land left. All the development that you're seeing now has been approved from 1995 to pretty much 2020. And you're just now seeing it. And if you would come to the community meetings, because you said you haven't lived here very long. Most of us have lived here our life because we remember when there was nothing out there but Bayberry community, and they didn't want the rest of the community being built. But if you would come to some of the communities meetings, because I'm out there quite often, you would realize this, because I do have a map put together of every development that you see come forward, and you can look at it and see when it was zoned, how many units are being built. And so I usually never get complaints. You're actually the first person I've gotten a complaint. I can't tell you when.
About the Tomoka Farms Bridge?
Yes, because I keep them very up to date on
Ma'am,
it.
there's no sidewalk. I have to get up on a ledge.
I understand, but I'm trying to tell you right now.
Nobody's complained about it?
I keep my residents informed, so you need to come out to the community meetings. I will give you my card afterwards, and I'll let you know when the next meeting is, and I would love for you to come out.
I just would like you guys to.
And I would like to say, for the record, LPGA is a county road. Now, if it's a police matter, Daytona Beach PD takes over.
Right.
But that's a fact. Just know, if they told you that, they know that.
And I just understand, but I just want you guys are maybe are not there in the evenings, and the cars just fly on that bridge. I was on an accident. The document, I was in an accident on that bridge in October.
You're walking on the bridge?
No, I'm driving, rear-ended on the bridge. Rear-ended on the bridge and then pulled into the Publix, and I was lawsuit and everything, but I was rear-ended on that bridge. They drive like maniacs over there, and they drive like maniacs on Perfect Drive. There's only one speed bump we have on Perfect Drive. We did a study, because I'm on the alternate on the HOA board. We had to get a speed study, okay?
Oh, I do remember you, yes.
Speed study.
And, yeah, because you're only here every so often, correct?
No, I'm here full-time.
You're full-time now, because you're here just every so often? The speed bumps, yeah, they did do a study, and when they do the study, you have to qualify. Then you have to make sure wherever the speed bumps are going to be, the residents have to agree. Your residents did not agree for those speed bumps to be placed there.
Yep.
The residents agree. We have community residents that are all complaining about this.
Well, the residents you guys wanted the speed bumps to be placed.
Okay.
Okay.
Fair enough. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, sir.
And for the record, I drive those roads every day.
Okay.
I'm not 100% happy with them either.
Okay.
But we knew this was coming.
Fair enough.
I live there.
Okay.
Okay.
Who's my
All right.
constituent?
Yeah. All right. Thank you. Oh,
That was our final speaker.
good night, Daytona Beach.